everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are almost through our What Else Can My Communication Device Do series, which is surprising. We've done art and music and texting and environmental controls and telephone. Today, you guys have been listening to me throughout this entire series. And if you missed one, please know that they are all recorded on our YouTube channel, of which I'll be sharing that link. So today we have a special guest. We have Bob. Bob is one of our newest team members, computer hacker, programmer extraordinaire, and rehab engineer. And Bob is going to be talking with us today about environmental controls, fun, and gaming. And so I'm excited for you guys all to get a chance to hear what he has to say. That being said, Bob has a ton of links. So please do not feel the need to take all of these down. I am going to be sending you 2 pages at least of links. So you guys will be getting these all in our after visit email. And they will also be included on our YouTube channel as well, so that you can go back and grab those links. All right. So today, environmental controls, fun and gaming. So our last session was environmental controls, home and environment, and today is the fun stuff, fun and gaming. All right. So if you've joined us before, this is going to be a repeat. If you have not, session goals and format, just to kind of let everyone know. Really, what this is about is sharing practical knowledge, giving tools and resources to get you started. So we want to help you dream, and then we want to help you actually make it happen. Leaving here today, making it happen, which is something that Bob is really intent on making sure that you are all able to do. That being said, we encourage everybody to participate in whatever format works best for you. If you need to butt in, if you need to put it in the chat, Annie and myself, as well as the Bridging Voice team, will be monitoring the chat. And if you need help with the chat, I've got a little information here on how to do that. So hover over the chat icon, and then you go ahead and click, and it will accept you have a chat window that opens up there for that. All right, next slide.
Okay.
All right. And let me hand it over to the man of the hour, Bob.
All right. Thanks, Trinity. All right. So the reason why I'm excited to give this presentation is my background. I worked in the video game industry for years, making video games. And then after that, for some years, worked on making electronics and other things more accessible for people. And that puts me in an interesting position where there's some things we can say today. The reason why games is a huge focus of this presentation, it's at least half the presentation, is, well, a few things. One, well, games are fun, and they can give you a sense of accomplishment. They can give you a way to connect with family members, with friends, and a lot of our pals are gamers. Dozens of them use them as a way to connect with their children and other family members. And as a coworker of mine, Eddie said once, games are a form of communication. I think that's very true. I mean, myself, I'm not a big talker. I would rather play a game with someone. That's my way of connecting. And it can be a lot of fun, and it is a worthwhile thing. So I'm going to be showing you games that you could play today. You don't need to, you'll just be able to go to various sites, download the games if you're interested, or play them directly on the website. Everything I'm going to show you today is through controllable by eye tracking and through your communication device. If at any point anything I show seems like that's not the case, please drop a question in the chat. The intention is that I'm showing you stuff that you can use with your communication device with eye tracking. Okay, and I just had fun putting this slide together. It has some games from my childhood and other games I've talked with some pals that they play and they're interested in. All right, so let's go into it. One thing I want to be clear about, though, is there is this idea of adapted game controllers. That's not what we're talking about today, but we do have I even have one pals I work with that uses a controller like one of these. When I say a video game controller, I mean, you know, something, it typically has buttons on it that you press that let your character or let you do things within the game world. We're not talking about these today, but you should know these exist if you're in the position where this is useful to you. But again, our focus today is not so much this kind of customization, but instead using your eye tracking and your communication device pretty much without additional hardware, just as it is to play games. Okay, so one site you guys should know about is iGaze Games. And I think the best way is to just show you some quick video of some of the games on that site. Again, these are games you can play with iGaze. These are games that were designed for eye tracking. So these are games that they had it in mind. All right, so let's have a look.
Have you tried Special Effects' new site for iGaze Games? Here you can play free online games with eye movement alone using an iGaze camera. There are a number of games to choose from, and there are more on the way. Compete against other players around the world on our online leaderboards, or play 1v1 matches.
En début de nuit, il a toujours chaud. Non.
Customize your setup from the start.
Toi, oui.
And as you play. Choose larger on-screen targets. Or play with more direct control over the mouse position.
Okay, and I want to reiterate that website in particular. It's the games are free. The website's free, and it's compatible with if you're using Communicator, if you're using Grid, regardless of your solution, regardless of what communication device you're using, as long as you can use eye tracking, and as long as you can to some degree use the mouse control with eye tracking, you can play these games. So there is, of course, different kinds of games, and different kinds of games demand different. They meet you at different points based on what your interests are and what your abilities are. So some games, it's more like their strategy and you're thinking like, okay, what's my next move? And that's where the challenge is, to make the right move and such. And other games, it's more like reaction time and you're steering, let's say a driving game. There is some setup to consider for the driving kind of category. So I want to show one more video just to give you a sense of what that might be like.
So you look left and right on screen and the vehicle follows your gaze. You look up to accelerate and down to brake and reverse. The orb on screen shows where you are looking and represents the mouse cursor. Therefore, to use this method, you need to be able to have constant control of the mouse cursor position using your iGaze camera. For instance, using Toby's TD control software with a PCI camera, we would do this by changing the mode from advanced to simplified in the settings, and choose to use the continuous option by selecting this icon. With this mode on.
Now, before I go too far into any specific setup with that, what I want to mention is this is doable with Communicator, as is being shown, CD control. It's also you can do it with Grid. There's a lot of different options here. And this particular piece of it, this is more for a driving game where, as he showed, it's very fluid. As your eyes are moving a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left, the car drift a little bit to the left. If you look far to the left, the car will go far to the left. And you could kind of, in a fine-grained way, really steer the car. A lot of these games have an alternate mode where there's arrows on the screen. And if you choose the left arrow, it starts going left. You choose the right arrow, it starts going right. And that's more of a discrete button-based way of controlling. So there's a lot of different options, and they give a different kind of gameplay, but they also ask a different thing from the user.
So Bob, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in for just a quick minute. Can you go back to the previous slide for me?
Sure.
All right. So if you guys were unable to hear the audio because it is low, what the gentleman on this video was discussing was the little white dot is actually where you're looking on the screen. So if you're looking forward, the car moves forward. If you're looking back, the car stops. If we're going to the right or to the left. So you're actually just using your eye as a directional point to drive the car. Can you show that game again? That game just one more time, a really short clip, so you guys can notice that white dot on the screen. So there's the white dot that we're looking at on the screen, and you're looking forward and the car is moving forward. You're looking to the right and the car is going to the right. You bring it down and the car stops. Perfect. Thank you.
No, thanks. That's well said. Okay. So to achieve that kind of control that Trinity was just talking about, where you're able to, with your eyes, in this kind of nuanced way, say which way you want to turn and how far, you need to set up the mouse pointer on your communication device to follow your eye gaze, to follow your eyes. And there's ways to do that in Grid. There's ways to do that in Communicator. Almost all the different software packages out there, there's a way to do it. With Grid in particular, I want to make a shout out to the fact that there's this Grid page you can download right within Grid itself. If you go to the menu and you go to Add Grid Sets, in the Add Grid Sets, there's this Online Grids area. And if you search for iGaze Games, which is the name of the website, you get a page. That page, if you use it, if you add it and use it, it looks like this initially. It just shows you your tracking, and then once you choose this in the bottom right-hand corner, it opens up the website for you, and it lets you can right away just start playing the games, and you can also go back out to Grid when you're done. Communicator, you also have some options. There's this gaze point for Communicator page you can use. It's in all page sets emerging. It is also very simple. It essentially gives you two options. It lets you do a left click, or just the pointer follows your eyes. And then there's of course TD control, as that video mentioned. We'll potentially we'll share some links for some explanation videos there. But the point is, you have lots of options as long as you can eye track and use the mouse functions in your software. You can use this website. Okay. Almost pretty much everything I'm showing you is eye tracking, and pretty much everything I'm showing you should work, regardless if it's Grid or Communicator or anything else. This one is specific for Grid, but I did want to make a mention of it because it is interesting, and we have a lot of pals who use Grid, and it is a good site. It is a good product. This one is not free. This one is paid, but it has a free trial.
I just want to make sure when you did your share screen that you did share with audio for everybody.
I believe I did, but I can stop and reshare just in case.
Just to make sure. We had a few people say that they didn't hear the last series of audio.
Yeah, I got share sound enabled.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Sharing. Okay. All right. You see my screen again? Okay. All right. And so this is LookLab for Grid. Oh, sorry. This is LookLab for Grid. Now, this site and the other site, iGaze Games, again, there's a wide variety of games. Some are very chill. I'm just looking around, things are happening. Other ones, there is a strategy element. Others are fast-paced. It really just depends what you're interested in, how much challenge you're looking for, and which kinds of it's just finding games that meet you where you are, but you find games that you find fun. And there are enough games out there that you can do it. Yeah, so many uses for games in general. And again, it's fun to show LookLab because I think we also showed that in our music training and our art training. They have a lot of fun stuff there.
They do.
Okay. All right. I also just want to make mention we do have games on the Bridging Voice website. We have chess has gone up recently. We've had Hangman, anagrams. There's a math game. Some are for grid, some are for communicator, some are for both. There is just another resource, free games you can play. I just want to mention if there is some game you're looking for that you'd be interested in an eye trackable version of that you don't see either on the sites I just mentioned or this site, feel free to let us know, drop it in the chat, and we'll consider some things. You never know, we could do it. All right. So to talk more specifically about ways to play games with your eyes on your communication device. So as you may know, you can with your eyes, you can control the mouse on the device. You can move the mouse pointer around. You can also with your eyes, you can also type on a keyboard. Okay, into other apps other than the communication software. And so in this example, we're using our eyes to do mouse control. All right. Now, here I have, this is in Communicator. This is Windows Access toolbar on the right-hand side. It's a little blurry, but there's below my exit, there's left click, double click, right click. Okay, examples like that. There's a similar thing in Grid you can use. There's a common thing to be able to use your eyes to act as a mouse into other apps. So this is not something you already have on your device. This is something you can do right away. And what does this let you do? This lets you use other apps on your device, including games. So here we are. We have a game, Candy Crush. A lot of people know this game. It's a match 3 game. It's about matching 3 of the same color on this grid of colors, and you're these candies, and you're trying to clear the board. Okay, so the kind of first challenge here is I have a play button, which I have to interact with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this left click. I'm going to dwell on that to select it, and then I'm going to choose the play button with my eyes. In the examples I show, I'm using the zoom option for selection, and you'll see what that looks like in just a second. Let me show you. You see I'm dwelling up there. I chose left click. Now I'm zooming on my target. I zoomed into play and it shows play. There is also a dwell option for people who prefer that, but many times zoom is more accurate. Okay, so the game initially, it had some dialogue. I needed to say I've read that and move on, so I just did a left click onto the screen. Now I'm going to start playing the game. The game opens with a tutorial in case you've never played it before. It darkens everything except the thing it wants you to focus on. And right now it's showing me there's these 3 blue candies, which wants me to slide into a row. So it's asking me to slide this blue candy over. There's 2 ways to do it. So the first way to do it is click the thing you want to move and then click where you want to go. So I'm going to use left click to do that. I've selected left click. I'm zooming in on the candy I want to move. I choose left click again, and I'm zooming where I want it to go. It did that swap, and now it's doing all the fun animations of I made that match and it's clearing out the board. Now I need to tap on the screen again, so I'm using my left click again. Now it's just walking me through one more time. Now there is another way to do this, which I'm going to show, but you could use that first way. You could use that for the whole game. That would be just fine. And again, that would be you were looking at left click, looking at what I want to move, choosing left click again, choosing where I want to go. A way that's a little bit more, another way is to use kind of a drag. And so you're again still have to choose where you're starting and where you're going. But the advantage here is you don't have to look back at the bar for both parts of that. You just look at it once, in this case, this drag and drop. You'll look at where you're going, and then it will right again start another zoom where you start to choose right where you started, and then another zoom to choose where you're going. So you'll see that now. I'm zooming with the thing I want to move, that purple, and then I chose the orange that I'm swapping with. And so in this way, you can play the whole game. All right, so right now there's the green candy I want to slide over to the right. I'm choosing the green, I'm choosing the orange next to it. It does that swap. Now, I'm using the drag and drop to do this, but you could just as easily use the left click the whole time. It's just going back to that bar one extra time per move. I'll just make one more move here just so you get to watch that. And I'm choosing drag and drop. I'm choosing that green candy. And then I'm choosing up higher where I want it to slide to. Slides. It finishes that. Okay. And again, that was all with eye tracking. All right. So that was your eyes acting as a mouse, moving the mouse pointer around. Now I want to focus on your eyes acting as a keyboard for games, because there are games that are playable by keyboard. Many games are playable by keyboard. So this particular game is it's a cute game. It's there's this dog. You'll see it a little bit better as he starts to move. He's carrying this stick, this orange reddish stick, and he has to get to the goal, which is this paw print over here. And your moves are to be able to move up or down, left or right, one square at a time. You can kind of see these squares that the board is made out of. And he has this stick, which is quite big. It gets bigger in later levels. And the thing is, things get in the way, like these cones and such, that his stick hits against, which doesn't let him move unless it's a puzzle, unless you're creative with how you want to get it there. So you can drop the stick, pick it up from the other end. You can rotate. There you have moves. So how do you do these moves? Now I'm going to show you in a video in a second of it in action, but I want to point out I have this keyboard here. So many games playable by keyboard, you can do this. You can pull up your keyboard and grid and you can play the game. I've colored the keys to make it easier, especially easier to show during this demonstration. The green keys are acting as arrows, insofar as this W key will move the dog upward, the S down, like closer to us, closer to the viewer, A to the left, and D to the right. That's your main moves. You also have these yellow keys, this Q and E. This rotates counterclockwise, E rotates clockwise. And then the other important key to show is spacebar, which is your action key. In this game, it's about dropping the stick or picking it up, because you can drop the stick and then pick up the other end of it if you wish. So those are the main moves of the game, and let me show that in action. So here I'm choosing the W. The dog is moving upward. And you see how it just bumped off the cone there? So I have to do something different. So I'm going to do a rotation by choosing that Q. He's turned. Now the stick won't bump the cone if I go up. Now I'm going to move over. I'm choosing A with my eyes. And now I'm going to try and go down. It won't work because the stick hits the light post there. So I have to rotate. Now I can move down. Now this is a simpler level, but there are many interesting, even more involved levels that come up later. So it's a really fun puzzle, and it's really involved, and you could think about it very deeply. Me and my daughter have worked on some of these for a long time, figuring out how to win them. But how you play the game, the eye tracking is very simple. When you've decided what you want to do, I eye track to what corresponds to the direction I want to move, and I move. The eye tracking is not hard. What's hard is just is the challenge of the game itself, where you want the challenge to be. There you saw I dropped the stick. Now I'm going to use my action key again, that purple, the space bar, to pick up the stick. So now I'm holding it by the other end. This allows me to move over easily. There were other ways to solve this puzzle, this world. There's many ways, but I'm just gonna finish out the level this way, picking up the stick from the other end again with my space bar. I dropped it and I picked it up. I'm sliding over. I got to the blueprint. That concludes that level. And then another level starts up. They go through different, they're themed to different ways. It's a cool game. It's close to my heart also because I reached out to the developer and said, hey, I need you to make a change to make this game even more accessible. And they were willing to do it. And it's amazing now. Now you could play it with keyboard fully. And there are many games that are fully playable by keyboard, but it's also a little lesson in if something's almost there, sometimes you get lucky. You can reach out to the developer and they're willing to make that small change because they want people to play their game. So that's cool.
Bob, I want to jump in really quick and let you guys know that the name of the game is called Stick to the Plan. I just wanted to do that. The other thing I wanted to bring forward, Charlie just said that Steam has a lot of games that you could play this way. And if you notice, this keyboard is actually just the classic on-screen keyboard that comes from Grid 3. And Bob has gone in and just colored those buttons just to visually help him when he's playing the game. So he's not having to think about, oh, the W means this. And so using those color cues is a very easy customization that can be done with a keyboard. And again, if you need help with those, we are definitely here for, helping to teach you how to do customization, something simple like that.
For sure. Thanks, Trinity. Yeah, for sure. That's what we're all about here is there's the stuff we want you to be able to do today, but then there's also these customizations Virgin Voice can help people with to make things even easier. Okay, so that was control of games that were running on the communication device directly, like inside of Windows. When we looked at Candy Crush, when we looked at Stick to the Plan, the game with that dog. Now I want to talk about games on your phone. So this is phone mirroring. Now, in this demonstration, you're going to see my phone and you're going to see my communication device, although it's a good amount of it is off screen. This is just the left-hand side of my communication device. And this is, again, that mouse toolbar you've seen before that has the left click, double click, etc. And you'll notice that at the moment, they look very similar. That's because it's mirroring. It's a window. There's a window on my communication device. And in that window, it's showing whatever is on my phone screen. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, a few reasons why you might want to mirror your phone onto the communication device. One is, in some cases, it makes it easier to see because your communication device has a bigger screen. Another reason is you may not have a good way to have your phone mounted such that you can see it easily, but your communication device should be mounted in a way they can easily see the screen. So by mirroring, you now have a good view of what's on your phone screen when you want it. And the fun thing is you can often with mirroring set things up such that this window, when you interact with it, when you left click into it, when you do drags into it, it does the same thing on the phone. That it's a two-directional thing. What's happening on the phone shows on the communication device. What you do on the communication device with your eyes into this window that shows your phone, it happens on the phone. So in this case, I'm showing games, but do keep in mind there's things other than games. You also can mirror, interact with on your communication device, and it will happen on the phone at the same time. So let me make this a little more concrete. I'm going to show an example here. I think what I'm going to jump to is... Okay, so it's a little out of focus, my apologies, but you'll see here's my phone screen and here's a level. And here's the same level on my communication device. This game is about getting these guys, there's three guys, a green guy, a yellow guy, and a blue guy, to their goals. And the way you do that is you first select the one you want to move, and then you select where you want to go. And by select, in this case, I'm saying we're talking about doing a left click. So I'm going to choose left click, I'm going to choose a guy, and then I'm going to do left click again and choose where I want that person to go. So let me just back up a little bit here. Okay, this is a good spot to show it, I think. So I had already chosen the green person, and I've chosen where I wanted them to go, and then they go there. Now here I'm choosing the blue one, and I'm doing that same left click, and then I'm choosing where do I want the blue guy to go. Now this game, it's interesting to me in that there's many different situations where they have to help each other, like they can boost each other up, they can lower each other down, these guys. So if you say, I want this guy and I want this guy to move to a certain spot, he'll only move there if he can. So you have to set up, you have to get your ducks in a row, so to speak. And it's again a case of the eye tracking is pretty straightforward. You choose left click and you eye track onto the left click button up here, and then you eye track who you want to move. Again, left click, and then eye track, well, where do you want that person to go? And then he'll do it. Let me show one more example in this game.
So Bob, everyone's chomping
Oh.
at the bit. They want to know how to, now they want to know how to mirror.
Okay.
You
Yeah, so
showed them all the good stuff, and now they're saying, okay, how do we do it?
okay. All right. So yeah, maybe this is a fine time to jump out. I do want to just say this is a very interesting game, and there are lots of interesting games that you can play through mirroring. Okay. So mirroring, and again, you see here the screens are the same. Okay. So there you have lots of different options. We'll put some links in the chat, and the point is there's mirror for Android, which is an option from Toby, but it's really just a repackaging of stuff from Google and one other company. So actually it works on grid pads. It works on all of these just fine. I actually just set up someone earlier today with it on a grid pad. It was no problem because it's not a Toby product. It's just they actually made just a nice installer that's stripped down and it downloads easy and installs easy. But you have many options. There's Mirror for Android. There's Vysor, Vysor. There's a few other ones, but I just want to leave it at those two for now. I was using Vysor in this example. And when you mirror, you need some connection between your phone and your communication device. It's a little bit outside the scope of this talk to go into how you set up the wireless version of it. But you can do it over Wi-Fi. But we'll drop a link in the chat for how you would do it over USB, and for Android phones at least. And so you can install that. You can plug in the USB cable between your phone and the communication device, and it lets you do this.
We're going to pause for just a second. Okay, Barbara, if that doesn't work for you, let us know, okay? But you had asked for setup, and other people were jumping in saying that they agree. So if you need any other questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. Bob will answer it for you. I won't, but Bob will.
Okay. All right. So I want to move us from games to other fun things, of which this will be one example. So again, everything I'm showing today is eye tracking through your communication device. Everything I'm showing. And so the thing is, though, how can your communication device control these other fun things? Well, so we're going to go into some categories. So here's the first category: IR controlled, infrared. So we're talking about, like, like we often set up TVs this way. You have your TV remote control or your cable box remote control. You notice sometimes these controls, you can see that this LED at the front of the remote control. It's called infrared because it's shining an infrared light. It's not a light that you can see with your eyes, but it is a light that other devices can see and then respond to. And that's why a lot of remote control, it's one of the reasons remote controls can use it, is it's just an easy way for two things to talk to each other. And the thing is, it's not just for TVs or air conditioners, which, it's often used with air conditioners as well, or radios. It's also used for toys. Not all toys, but many toys. And so this is a fun way. You can have fun yourself. You can engage with pets. We're going to show an example in a minute. You can engage with children. It's and we have some page sets ready to go for this, which we'll be sharing, and more down the line we'll be sharing. So let's look at an actual example. Okay, I have two examples here. One is this mouse toy we did for one of our pals, Kristen and her cat. She wanted to be able to interact with her cat in this way by moving this remote toy mouse around. And okay, well, let's see how it goes. So you'll see the mouse is up here and it zooms down and over. Her cat sees it and jumps on it. So this is one way she could be playing with her cat and interacting with her cat. Okay. Another toy I want to show is this chameleon toy. So this one I'm going to just show what it looks like to have a page set on your communication device. And yeah, and Trinity's holding it up, and you know what that sort of could look like. All right, so again, this is eye tracking. I've eye tracked on the arrow, which made it go forward. Now it's gone backwards. I've made it turn a little bit to its right. Go forward a bit. Now I'm going to turn to the left. Oh, no. Okay, so it has this tongue function, which is really fun. What's fun about that is the tongue is magnetic at the end, so it can eat things. Now you're seeing the color changing on its back. By choosing this up there. And in this way, I have full control of this this chameleon. I can move it around. I can get it to shoot its tongue out to play a game or interact with somebody. I can change the color on its back to whatever color I want. It's a lot of fun, and there's quite a few toys that fall under this category. Quite a few toys that fall under this category of being infrared controlled, and other devices as well, not just toys, all kinds of fun toys and fun things that they will accept these IR commands. So this is very similar to when we're setting up TVs. Most of the communication devices have a facility whereby they let you record the code from the remote control, and then they play it back. They impersonate the remote control that you have. So I have on the screen here this remote control for the chameleon. I have this remote control for the cat toy. So instead of you having to, with your hands having to push these buttons, let's say, by choosing these buttons on screen with your eyes, it sends the same command as if you had pressed the button on the remote. It's acting as your remote. A lot of this is about how can we get, with eye tracking, using your eyes, we're getting the communication device to act as your go-between, to play the game, to interact with the toy, to interact with the fancy lights. Okay. Oh, and by the way, we will be putting some of those page sets on our website as well for download, and links for some of those toys. Okay. Now, the reason this slide is here is because I want to open up the possibilities even further. Your communication device, we just mentioned infrared, IR-based things it can control. Before that, you were looking at using eye tracking into applications within Windows. You were seeing eye tracking into applications on your phone. So you have lots of situations where something can be controlled by infrared. Okay, you can do it with eyes on your communication device. You have things where things are controlled by an app on your phone. There's lots of lights and toys and fun things that there's an app on your phone to control. You can do that with your eyes. Eye track into a mirrored window of your phone, and now you're through the eye tracking device, your communication device controlling the phone, which is controlling this other thing. We also, as we've talked about in the home automation, there's things that are voice activated. And your communication device can say the right words, the right thing is listening and responds to those voice commands. Okay, so I want to open up that world even further to talk about things that are switch adapted, because you can go online and you can search for switch adapted toys or switch adapted things. And so now when I talk about switches, what do I mean by switches? Some of our pals are already using switches, but they're using them in a different way. So this is a switch I have here, these switch here. If you have some hand function or some head function, we have pals who are using this for activation. So a lot of our pals, there's kind of like two categories. We have a lot of pals who, when they're eye tracking, they're looking at a target on screen and they're doing dwell. They're waiting until a target fills up, and when they've looked there long enough, the eye tracker knows they've meant to select it. They weren't just looking around. They want to activate that. We have other pals who are not using dwell. They're using switch. So they're still eye tracking to look around where they want, but then to say that, yes, I'm on the thing I want, they press their switch. Okay. This presentation isn't about switches in general. This presentation is about one particular switch, though. Although you can use a switch to trigger your communication device itself can act as a switch. And again, why would you flip the table on that? Why would you use your communication device as a switch for something else? It's just to open up the possibilities of things you can control. It's just another bucket of things. I know my infrared things I can control. Now I know my switch adapted things I can control. Now, how would you do that? Again, you could search online, you'll find things like this, disco light. It's switch adapted. It's controllable. You'll find bubble blowers, all kinds of fun things, switch adapted. Switch adapted means you could plug a switch into it. So how do we turn your communication device into a switch that you could plug into one of these things to control it? Well, as this demonstration here with Pluto is showing, we have this box. There's quite a few different ways, but here is one way. There's this product, Toybox from BJ Live, Kinera, also now in Kinera, and it will act as a switch to these other devices. So you plug the USB cable, which it has, into a communication device, and then you plug a cable from the box to the thing that's switch adapted, because it's now the switch. It's now a switch you're controlling with your eyes instead of what we usually talk about, a switch you control, with like hands or a head motion. Okay, now here is an example of that. I want to show in use eye tracking to control these switch adapted things. This is a switch adapted bubble blower. We have some stuffed toys that are motorized. They move around. Let's have a look. So this person will look at their screen, they'll make a selection, and you'll see the bunny starts to move. And again, they're just using their eyes. They're eye tracking onto their communication device. And it is going through a USB cable to the toy box. And then from the toy box, a connection out to now this bubble blower. So again, just another way to even expand further. Now, the limitation there is, well, one, you need you do need a piece of hardware. You need, for example, this BJ Toybox is a good example. There are other ones as well. There's the Cosmo Connect. The limitation, though, is you need something that will accept a switch input, because we're talking about switch adaptive things. Just like when we were talking about infrared, the limitation is you need something that was controllable by infrared to begin with. The thing here is, though, the fun thing is you can make something, you can turn them into switch adapted things. This is something you can buy. I just want to mention this. It's good to know. This is something you could buy. It's very affordable. I think it's in the $10 to $20 range. And it's when you add it to something, it makes that thing switch adapted. So now it would work in that same way I just showed you, where you look at the screen and it activates it. This is a way to put other things into that category. So I just want to show this part of this video quick.
Battery interrupter does is, in essence, what the name says. It actually interrupts power to the battery. And the way you re-enable that power is through the use of a switch or capability or ability switch, as they're called.
And again, in our case, he's talking about plugging a switch into it. We're using our eye trackers and this toy box.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a simple toy. This is a little fan. It has a simple on-off switch. I have 2 AA batteries in here already. Okay. One way to check when you're looking at a toy is if it has a simple on-off switch like this, turn it on, the fan comes on, shut it off, the fan goes off. This will definitely work with a battery interrupter.
And again, we're looking at battery interrupters because this is a case of taking something that is not currently switch adapted, but he's going to do something very quick and easy. It makes it switch adapted. And in this way, it is now controllable by your communication device.
So what you want to do is open up your battery compartment, take out just one battery. You only need one interrupt per device or toy. And you're going to take this disc and you're going to put it between the spring in the battery case. You can also use the positive side if the case allows it to make contact on both sides. Basically, whichever makes the best contact and the easiest to insert is what you're going to use, but 90% of the time it's going to be the back, the negative side. So I just slipped my disc in. This disc is actually sandwiched between the back, the negative side of the battery, and then your spring in the battery compartment. So it's the in-between. So it's basically interrupting the power between those two contact points. So you close your battery.
Okay. So it's not very hard to do. You just need someone who can get the battery compartment open, and it's just right there in between the spring and the battery. You're placing this device, and that is how you can make something switch adapted, again, with the goal of, and just another way to control something by eye tracking. It's not the way, it's just another way, just to open your tool belt of possibilities. Okay. All right. I wanted to talk about lighting. In this case, I'm talking about power wheelchair lighting. It's a lot of fun. It can be festive. It could be subtle. It could be bold. You can use it to celebrate things. You can use it as a way of getting attention. There's all kinds of different ways for lighting. Things one could do with lighting. It could just be personal preference. The way you want to. The way you want this, the way of you're showing your style, and here's just some examples. You have, this kind of wheelchair lighting. There's lots of different lighting you can get. This lighting, there are examples of this type of lighting, this string lighting that you can attach to a wheelchair or around your room that's controllable by these things we've been talking about. It can be controllable by infrared, which this remote here is an example. If there's an infrared remote. It can be controllable by an app on your phone. And again, this is up here is the same set of lights, which we could drop a link for, is controllable both by infrared and by an app on the phone. So this can be a really cool way to add pizzazz to something, or whatever you want to do. So I just wanted to just show just a quick example. So that you got these kind of lighting up here, but then there's also this lighting here. This I did for someone at one point. At a previous situation, we added, they wanted to definitely be seen in the dark. So we have the bright white lights on the front and sides. We have this kind of pulsing red light on the back. This is like they wanted to be seen, and especially when they were going in the street. But this could also be, it could have all kinds of purposes, and it's actually quite bright if you want it to be. So like this is the chair lighting up the room completely on its own. This is not, the overhead lights are not on. It's totally the chairs lights. And but so you can do all kinds of creative things, whatever you're interested in. Again, controllable by phone, controllable by infrared. You can look for these, and then you can set them up. It does take a little bit of work, to, especially on a power wheelchair, which is a moving object, to make sure you attach it in a way that is safe. You want to keep in mind all the parts of the chair that move. You want to make sure you're not getting things caught in the wheels. You want to make sure that if you have tilt and other functions of the chair, that you don't run lights and the cables such that it's too short, and that when the chair moves or tilts, it's pulling on those cables. But there are lots of videos online of people doing this. It's interesting. And of course, if you set up something in your room or a stable object, you don't have those concerns. Okay. All right, Trinity, I'm going to let you talk about the Luxafor flag.
All right, I'm going to jump in for the Luxafor flag. I absolutely love this Luxafor flag. I'd love to call it Donnie's flag if I could rename it, but Luxafor might have something to say about this. So Donnie was one of my pals, and he happened to be in the hospital, and he wanted a way to be able to communicate, especially with communication partners like doctors who don't have time to stop and wait for someone to create a message or who don't know their communication style. So we created a program for Donnie using this great little Luxafor flag. Great thing about this was intended to be actually for more of like the office setting to let people know kind of a status light per se. So that we had a little tag, you see it there, on the back of his communication device. So when someone would come in and talk to him, he had his flag up on the top. It was color coded. So, for example, when he was typing a message, it would be yellow and it would let people know, like, I'm typing, please wait. Or if they were talking, they could continue on talking. And when his light went green, it meant, okay, stop talking so that he could then have something to say. But it also was fun too because he had his disco lights, so he could like throw a little disco party. He also had it flash red and blue, like just visually like help, just kind of getting someone's attention. So it worked really nicely for him, especially with communication partners who did not know his style, and really helped to improve his communication interaction, especially with busy people and with unfamiliar people. So in just in the interest of time, Bob, let's not show the video. But we
Mhm.
will share it with everyone else, and then we'll let you go on so we have a little bit of time for question and answer. And we can stay a little bit longer too, if anyone has questions.
Okay, last quick thing I just want to mention quick. And so here you're going to see a robotic arm painting with watercolors. The arm is being controlled by eye tracking on a screen. This is not a product that's mass produced. This would be an example of hacking. There's small hacks where you're just bridging a small gap between two pieces of electronics that already exist. There's larger hacks where you're fabricating something entirely new. Your communication device can do all the things we've shown, and it can do a whole world of things beyond that. But to do that world of things beyond that requires a bit of help. It requires a little bit of engineering, a little bit of creativity, and some time. So we're going to drop some links of some organizations such as AT Makers, Makers for Change, Tom. There's lots of organizations out there that they want to help people with their needs, serious needs, fun needs, and make custom stuff for them to get the most out of things. And so that was an example of just eye tracking, painting with watercolors. So if you're one of my pals and you ever wondered if that house behind me was one of the things my daughter did, that's one of the few pieces of artwork that me and a robot did instead. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, again, about anything you saw or anything that you wanted to control for fun, with your eyes or with your communication device, please drop those questions in the chat. If anything wasn't clear to you how it was being done with eyes, I assure you it was. Please drop those questions in the chat. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so we are going to go into question and answering. I'm going to do just a couple of little housekeeping stuff, and then we'll go on to questions and answer to kind of give you guys a chance to write those out and to send them in the chat, or you can communicate in whichever way is best for you. I do want to remind you all that we have one more session coming up. It is in November 14th, with caregiver alerting, wheelchair driving, and positioning. And we will have Jay and Tracy Beavers from Ability Drive joining us at the time, or sorry, Tolt Technologies joining us at the time. And then I also wanted to make sure that if you had any questions, if you would like to sign up for our future trainings, or if you are unaware of our YouTube channel, I'm going to share those for you as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on to question and answer. I do want to say a quick message to our YouTube channel while Bob is stopping our slide share, is that if you like what you see, please feel free to subscribe and join us. If you missed any of our sessions, please go back and see them there. And at this time, feel free to turn your cameras on, turn your microphones on, questions, answers. We've got lots of amazing people on this call that can answer. Charlie Wren, who's always fabulous with sharing information for us. He put a ton of other games in the chat that he enjoys using the same ideas that Bob was using. So he shared on Steam that he likes to play Second Life, Ticket to Ride, Governor Poker, Risk, and Sims 3. So those are just some other things that he shared that he likes to play as well. All right. Karina has asked if anyone on here is already using some of the games or the other sites highlighted, or if you're playing other games. Charlie shared some, but does anybody else have any other ones that we can add to our list to share? I see a lot of black screens. You guys can turn your screens on. You can turn your cameras or your microphones on. Charlie, there's got to be some other ones that you're playing. Let's hear them. Do we have any questions about anything that you guys saw today? I did want to let you know that when I posted the link for our Bridging Voice games, that the word grid, there wasn't a space between grid and the grid site link. So when I send out an email, we'll make sure that that is separated so that you are able just to click on the link in the email and be able to get right to that page set within grid. All right, we have a question, Bob. What is the simplest game to start with? Where should we start?
The simplest game to start with. Well, if the kind of smallest step maybe between things some people might be doing now, and if they're like just starting to look at games, is often word games. That's something a lot of people are comfortable with. So our website is a great place to start for some of those word games, because they're easy to use and they run right within your communication software. You're not jumping out to another website. So that would be kind of a very gentle starting point.
I think also too, you know, those games that you already played before, like maybe like Candy Crush, and the ones that aren't so time sensitive in terms of, you know, having to fly or drive or move quickly, you're able just to take your time and use your window. This is also, you know, using gaming is also a really great way to help you to hone those skills that you may use cruising throughout the internet. Because again, you're using that mouse toolbar that's running along the side or the bottom, depending upon how you have it laid out. It gives you that chance to get used to looking over, left clicking, coming back into the window. And the gaming targets are a little more simplified. Whereas if you're thinking about looking at a web page, you've got little tiny links that are stacked right on top of each other, a lot more visual information. So using something like Candy Crush or something similar is a really good way to really build those eye gaze skills and those access skills for lots of other things. Oh, Charlie says the Android version of Monopoly is the best version if you use an Android emulator. So that's another good one. Android Monopoly. By the way, I am going to take all of these links and include them in our final. Ooh, Eddie has Wordle. Wordle has an on-screen keyboard. Eddie, I can barely do Wordle without eye gaze. That'll take it at newyorktimes.com. Yep, and again, I'm going to make sure to include that. Anybody else have games that they like to play? I guess I'm going to have to start getting into gaming. All right, Eddie said Wordle at newyorktimes.com. And there's lots of different Wordle type games that are out there as well. All right. Okay, thank you all for joining us today. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and end our recording. So let me stop our recording.